Hi, my name's John, and I'm one of the web guys. I'd like to tell you about our amazing product that I'm certain you'll love. There are lots of companies out there who offer website and business tools, from the very cheap do-it-yourself to the very expensive bespoke products. What we offer at the Web Guys is a unique package that we're sure will cater to all your business's needs. We'll deliver a world-class website that's created specifically for you and your business and with everything you need to manage it. It's so simple. All you have to do is choose a look and we'll do everything else. We'll design, build, set up and customize your website for you. You'll get that agency quality product from £29.99 a month and with no upfront fees to pay. To take advantage of our fantastic products, go to www.thewebguys.co.uk and simply click the Sign Up Now button and follow the instructions, which will only take a few minutes of your valuable time. Once you're done, you'll get all this plus lots more, and from only £29.99 per month. So, what are you waiting for?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again. We're live on a Wednesday morning at 10. We're live on Facebook and our YouTube channel. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce you all this morning to Tony Lapworth from the Stack Owners Club. Good morning, Tony. Thank you very much for joining me.
Good morning, Brian.
So, thank you for coming on. And I think today we're going to talk a little bit about your wonderful cast, but in main about the club, you know, how you've been going for the last sort of year during this pandemic and how the website has helped you. We've recently done a new website for Tony and his wonderful club. And I know the membership community is one thing we want to talk about as well. It's a huge part of being classic car owner. So please, Tony, introduce yourself to the world and tell them, you know, all about this wonderful car club that you're part of.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Tony Lapworth. I'm actually chairman of the national committee. We don't have a club chairman as such, but I'm the guy that put his head above the parapet and got elected by the committee. I really must learn to say no. Let's talk about the car to begin with. It got off to a very bad start in production, but mind you, it was the 1960s and 70s. So what do you expect? You know, British industry wasn't exactly at the forefront of motor engineering in those days. It was doomed to failure almost right from the off because of lack of investment. There'd just been a big merger between BMC, the old British Motoring Corporation, and the
describing it.
Yeah, that's actually my car sitting there quite nicely, beautifully designed by a guy called Michelotti, Giovanni Michelotti from a Turin design studio. The Italians have a knack of producing some fantastic design cars and have done for many decades. Harry Webster, who was the engineering director at Triumph, was friends with Michelotti, and when Michelotti asked Harry for a donor car to have a little play with, and this is something I would have loved to have been involved with, Harry Webster sent a 1964 Triumph 2000 over to Turin, and after a lot of bashing, cutting, welding, filling and whatever, the Stag was born. Michelotti had this idea to create a genuine four-seater Grand Tourer, and this is what he ended up with.
It's a beautiful looking car, absolutely. I have to wonder, you know, obviously you said it's designed by an Italian. You can sort of see it's not designed by a British person, you know, being a soft top car. It's not really, you know, British climate and all.
Well, yes, although, you know, if you look back at the British motoring sort of history, there are a lot of soft top cars around, and us Brits are quite a hardy race. we have been known to go out in -4 with the hood down. Okay, you get wrapped up, but providing it's not raining, it's okay. The cabin is quite cozy. Most of us, you can't see it on that photo actually, but most of us fit windscreens, wind jammers at the back of the T-bar.
Sure.
Which stops the buffeting coming back from the rear of the car, which all convertibles suffer with. And the heater is good on the Stag, and if anybody knows the history of the Stag, they'll say, well, they all overheat anyway. So, which in the early days was actually quite true. They had loads of problems in the early days with the engines. The rest of the car and everything was fine. The suspension and everything was all okay. But the engine was its weak point at day one. It was rushed into production. They were desperate to get some sales. And the engine wasn't snagged properly. And there were a couple of major problems. One, they went into production with casting sand not fully flushed out of the engine blocks. That's not a very good way to start a production run with casting sand still floating around your water cooling system. Consequently, things used to jam up, the radiators used to block, the heads used to block, and they used to overheat. Real shame, because fundamentally, as we've proved over the years, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the engine design. Okay, there's bits that you might say would have been better. One of the big myths around at the time and later, it's been widely reported by a lot of the motoring press, was the engine that should have gone in was the Rover V8, which was a Buick, small block Buick V8. The real reason why it didn't go in, nothing to do with infighting between Triumph and Rover, all part of the same group, but producing very similar cars. It was to do with production capability, and the Rover plant could not have coped with the projected sales of the Triumph Stag.
It doesn't look big enough to be able to house a V8, because a V8 is a fairly large engine. It doesn't look like there's enough room there to house a V8. It's
surprising. The Triumph V8 was quite a compact unit, 3 litre. The Rover was 3.5, and the Rover sits much wider. You can fit the Rover engine. That was another myth that was around in the days, because they said, Triumph said that the Rover engine wouldn't fit. Well, that's clearly not true, because it does fit, and there are a few Triumph Stags out there with Rover V8s in. However, they fill a lot more of the engine bay than the Triumph unit does. There is still a reasonable amount of room under the bonnet, but it is a compact lump. It's not a big physical thing.
Can I just quick pause there, just for anyone who's joining us? I just want to throw in there, if you have any questions to us, especially to Tony as we go along, please put in your questions. We will do our utmost to try and answer them. What I will say is, if we can't answer them once we're live, we will go back, we'll do some research, and we'll come back to all of you. So please do post any comments or questions you might have, and we will. I'm sure Shona will try her hardest to answer them. Keep going, Tony.
Indeed. With I'm going to have a go. I hope there's no accountants on the listening in. One of the other problems we heard from the engineers that were working on the Stag engine at the time, we've interviewed them over the years many times. They knew they got a problem with the head gaskets, because you've got aluminium heads onto a cast iron block. It's not a good combination. Different expansion rates of the materials causes all sorts of problems. They knew they were blowing head gaskets, even in the test and development. And one guy said, I'll fix that. And he came back with a pair of head gaskets. They put them on. They couldn't break it. But those head gaskets cost 10 shillings, 10 bob, whereas the production ones were about sixpence or whatever. So the accountant stepped in and said, no, it's too expensive. We can't afford that. And they went into production with head gaskets that really weren't up to the job. The casting sand floating around the water system didn't help either. And consequently, this Stag, unfortunately, got the nickname in the trade as the Triumph Snag, which was very unfortunate, but never mind.
Surely that must have been a thing for a lot of those kind of cars around that era, because I don't think a lot of those type cars has got very good sort of quality reputations when it comes from a build quality. Have they, thinking of the MGs and those kinds of cars, I don't think they have any better reputations, really, do they?
No, absolutely not. The 60s, 70s, there were an awful lot of cars being built, but I can't say, unless you're up in your real prestige models, the mass-produced ones were made to a budget, and consequently they suffered for that.
That's a shame, though, because my God, they knew how to build some and design some beautiful cars back then. Much prettier than what we see these days, I think, personally.
I totally agree with you, Brian. My biggest problem with modern cars, and don't get me going on electric, but my biggest problem with modern cars is you don't really know what mark you're looking at. They're so nondescript, it could be any of them.
Yeah.
And the ones that do stick out tend to be so ugly that nobody in their right mind would buy one.
That's a good point, though, isn't it? Because I remember when I think it was the Nissan Qashqai and those kind of cars came out, I thought they were tremendously ugly cars, and I think lots of people do. But I think because of that, they became extraordinarily popular, didn't they?
They did indeed, yeah. It's a strange old being, car design and what is attractive and what isn't. The Stag, I know I'm slightly biased in this opinion, but it's for a 50-year-old car. It doesn't look that dated to me. It still looks, pretty damn good on the road.
It's the same old thing. It's something that looks beautiful. It's going to stay looking beautiful forever. There's no, just because time passes, it doesn't turn the car into an ugly car, does it? So.
Yeah, that's right. Sadly, it doesn't apply to the likes of you and me, unfortunately, Brian.
That's a completely different story altogether.
Absolutely.
The car is beautiful, and I've never been lucky enough to drive in one. I'm sure it's wonderful to drive as well, and the open top experience is always fantastic. So I want to talk a little bit more about the actual community around the car that you've got. Now, first question I've got, do you know how many of these cars are actually around driving?
The production run was just shy of 26,000, and we think our best guess at the moment is there's probably about 40% of the production run still around.
Well, that's not bad.
I don't think there's any other car that could claim that sort of high level. Maybe the Land Rovers, Mark 1s, maybe. Don't know. But we've got 3,600 members, and some of those own more than one car, and not every Stag owner is a member of our club. So we think there's probably in the UK 8,000 or 9,000 still roadworthy and around. And cars are dropping out of the woodwork almost on a weekly basis. I think it was about 3 years ago. LD2, which was the second production car ever made, it was made for the US market. That appeared out of a barn in, I think it was California somewhere. We'd lost it for years and years, and these cars are turning up all the time. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And I suppose it's a generational thing, isn't it? Lots of people would have stashed them away, and as people pass their stuff on to their children and grandchildren, stuff was going to come out of the woodworks, isn't it? That people have been storing up for years and years.
Well, that's right. I'm full of theories, some of which are quite good. One of my theories for why the car has stood the test of time is, being a soft top, it wouldn't have been left outside.
No,
It would have been in a garage, a barn, or whatever.
that makes
There,
sense.
yeah. If you look at any 60s, 70s car, you leave it outside, it's going to rust. The rust protection in the factories was non-existent. In fact, I did hear a horror story of, I think it was Roots Group. They used to store body shells in a field.
Wow.
on the ground, and they'd go and pick a body shell up, take it into the thing, wash it down with a jet washer, wipe it dry with a cloth, and then paint it.
Wow.
Not a good way to build a mass-produced car. But
I just want to put it out there for everyone who either watches this or falls across this video, perhaps not now, but in the future. Have a look at the website there below. If you are a stag owner and you're interested in joining the club, please go to the website and do the business there. You can apply to become a member and join Toner's wonderful group there. So the website is in the ticker. So please go there. If you own a stag and you wanna share it with the rest of the stag community, then please go there.
Absolutely. What we do say is, if you are seriously thinking about buying a stag, then join the club first, because we will give you as much help as we possibly can. We have 43 local areas around the UK, and we have international groups as well. The international ones are clubs in their own right, but we all talk to each other and we're affiliated with each other. So there's a nice picture of one of our European meetings held in 2009, I think it was, in Maastricht in Holland. Fantastic weekend, great camaraderie, interesting. And I'm comparatively new to the club, and I've never missed one of these European meetings. They are so brilliant. I've been to Switzerland, Germany, Belgium, Holland. We've been all over the place.
That's absolutely fantastic.
It's just a wonderful community. We one of our pride saying is that we're a social club. Stag Owners Club, SOC, the initials, is first part of social. And a lot of our activities are not aimed around getting our hands dirty and nuts and bolts and stuff like this. It is around the social side. Human beings generally are fairly sociable, unless you get them together on a ruling committee, and then they fall out like cats and dogs. But that's another story.
So you got so in the UK, you got just short of 4,000 members in your club.
Yes.
So describe that in details.
Sorry, I spoke over you.
Yeah, sorry. Just describe for us in a little bit more details how that sort of works and operates.
Yeah, our club is governed by a national committee, and at the moment we've got 8 or 9 that sit on the national committee. One important thing to bear in mind about our club is that we're volunteers. Although we are a fairly large club compared to a lot of classic car clubs out there, we are volunteer-led and organised. We have 43 UK areas, each of which has got their own local organisers and deputies. They organise their own events locally, and occasionally from the centre, we will organise very large events like our national days, international trips as well, sometimes like the ESMs. In fact, this year, it should have been last year, was the 50th anniversary of the launch of the Stag. It was launched in 1970. And we decided, the committee decided that for our biggest celebration would be at the Silverstone Classic in July. And we got organised, we spoke to Silverstone, and we promoted this via the club, the website, and everything else we could think of through the magazine. And at the moment, because we've had to move it forward 12 months for obvious reasons, we've got over 400 cars booked in for the weekend of the end of July, early 1st of August.
Wow.
And we've got a parade lap organised as well. So to see 400 plus stags on Silverstone on the Sunday lunchtime will be quite fantastic.
Yeah,
very special. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. Is that an open event that everyone can come to, or is it part of a bigger event? Or
Silverstone Classic is a huge event that's held every year. It's held normally a couple of weeks after the Formula One meeting, because they take a couple of weeks to get everything set up. It is the most fantastic experience for any petrol head at all. Well, even if you're not a petrol head, to be honest. We're not quite sure what the full format will be this year for COVID reasons, but there is a shopping village there. There's entertainment for the children, fairground rides. They're all free. There's entertainment on the Friday and Saturday night, and very often they have big named bands there. It's all free, part of the entrance. And go on.
No, that sounds fabulous. It's obviously this is a known thing. You got to bear with me a little bit. I'm fairly new to the whole motor sports, motor classic car thing. I don't know if you've noticed, but we in the last couple of years we've been part of this Formula 3 race about Horston's journey through that kind of stuff. And I went down to Silverstone to see him. That was the first time I've ever seen motor racing live. So I'm fairly new to this whole sphere. So I'm not that familiar with these events. So is this all information that people can find on your website about these events, where you're going to be and stuff?
It's something that, because we're in the development phase of our website, as you know, it's something that we have got links on there for Silverstone, but it is generally for members only, because we're encouraging members to go. Anybody who wanted to know about the Silverstone Classic can go onto the Silverstone Classic website, and they'll get all the information they need. The other fantastic thing about the Classic event is that everything's open. You can go in the pits, you can go into the preparation areas, you can go and talk to the drivers and the owners. It is absolutely fantastic. Where else could you go? And some of the cars that are racing, it never ceases to amaze me. The fantastic condition Bentleys, and they're tearing round at breakneck speeds round Silverstone. It's just bonkers.
Yeah, Silverstone's a wonderful place. It's very easy to go, as you say, into the paddocks and all that kind of stuff. It's a wonderful place for that.
Well, I remember a few years ago when the weather wasn't quite so good on the Sunday afternoon, and it was a pre-1930 car race. So you've got some fantastic Talbots, Bentleys, but the thing that stuck in my mind, I was opposite the wing, and on the last right-hander before going into the pit straight, there was a Fraser Nash coming round almost sideways. And when he put the power down, the front wheels, I swear they were in the air, because what he was doing with the steering wheel was unbelievable. It didn't seem to have any effect on where he went. It was absolutely incredible. It's far from slot car racing. It is racing on the edge, big time. It's so much fun. So much fun.
This obviously with the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. I know that there's the Classic Car Show at the NEC as well. Is that scheduled to happen anytime soon? Is it this year or the next year, or what does it look like? Because I would assume that everyone can go there and meet up with you guys as well.
They certainly can. Obviously last year all indoor shows were closed. The NEC was used as a Nightingale hospital as well, although I don't think anybody actually went in there, but it was going to be used. So sensibly the shows were cancelled in theory in November this year, and I've forgotten the exact date. It was around about the 11th, 12th, I think. classic car show at the NEC should be going ahead. We're certainly booked in. That shot we can see on screen now is from probably about 4 years ago. It's worth mentioning, actually, the car at the bottom right there, the red one, that's a pretty special machine. That is actually one of two four-wheel drive stags that were produced post-production.
Wow.
The car itself at the time was £3,000, I think, or £3,500.
Wow.
The Ferguson four-wheel drive system, the same system that was fitted to the Jensen FF,
Right.
that conversion cost £15,000.
Wow.
5 times what the car actually cost. And that car is quite special. There's only 2 around at the moment. I think they only made about 3 in total.
Wow.
For obvious reasons.
It must be quite expensive car as well, then. It must have gone up quite a lot in value, I suppose.
Oh, tremendous. It's difficult to put a value on that one particularly. But the engineering in there is superb. The picture of our stand there at the show, yes, people can go to the show. It is an immense show. Virtually every, well, there's a queuing list for clubs to actually get in on the show. It's that oversubscribed. We being one of the founder members of that show, if you like, and one of the bigger clubs, we're almost guaranteed to be there. But we will be there in November, COVID permitting. Our stand, as you can probably see from there, we're reasonably unusual in our approach. It's completely open. A lot of club stands you'll go and, you almost have to have a ticket to get onto the stand to look at the cars. We absolutely do not go down that route. We actively encourage people to come and have a look at the cars and even sit in the cars. Wow. We always make a point of having at least 1, maybe 2 cars that people are okay for people to just climb in and have a feel. Because
that's wonderful. I think that's great, because as you say, some of the cars you can hardly approach them, and I think that probably makes sense with some of them if they're obviously super expensive and very, very rare. It's sort of understandable. I've only been to this classic car show once, and it was a fabulous experience. But some of the cars, I think it was a Rolls Royce or Bentley, you couldn't even get anywhere near it. Good and lot for that. So, but to go in and see them, and as you say, even sit in them, it's quite. I think that's wonderful.
We did do a big show down in Pershore in Worcestershire 3 or 4 years ago, and we had one of the prototype cars called the Fastback. I think it's the only one that's still around, and we were very lucky to have him there with us. And it's one of the rare occasions when we did actually rope that one off. It is such a rare beast, very difficult, and it had just come back after being renovated as well. So we didn't want children with candy floss and handbags and whatever scratching against it. So
people understand that,
Yeah.
So just to be able to see it, even if it is from a distance, is people recognize that something special, isn't it? So
that's right. So our club is one of the biggest classic car clubs. We claim to be, but I wouldn't like to put this up in court. We claim to be the biggest single model club around. There's a lot of clubs. There's some clubs much bigger than we are, but they're not single model. We only have the one car. It's the Triumph Stag, and that's it.
Sure.
And it never really changed a huge amount. There were cosmetic changes here and there, but a Mark 1, a Mark 1.5, and a Mark 2, you've got to be in the know to recognise the difference.
Yeah, Tony, we can talk for I'm sure hours. We've been going on for half an hour now, so I just want to say to everyone out there, if you have any questions about the Stag, if you're interested in joining, please, get in contact with Tony. I'm sure he'll be happy to help you with whatever it is you're looking for. obviously, there's the event at Silverstone. If you're interested in that, I'm sure again Tony will be happy to help you out in attending that, and you can go and see everyone in NAC in November as well. I'm certainly planning on getting down and spending a bit of time with Tony and his wonderful fellow members down there in November. So maybe you can come and pop in and say hi to us and have a chat with us. I want to thank you, Tony, for taking your time out. I know you're very busy, obviously, running the club and dealing with your own cars and life in general. So I want to thank you very much for taking time out to join me here today and to tell the world about your wonderful car and wonderful club. And hopefully we can actually meet up soon and have a cup of coffee and then spend some time with the beautiful car.
If you behave yourself, you might even be allowed to drive my car.
Oh, that would be special. That would be special. So thank you very much, Tony. Thank you to everyone who's watching. We are live again next week with Jill Ashby, who is a lady, a remarkable lady who's developed a little book with puzzles for people with dementia. So it's definitely going to be very interesting and worthwhile coming joining us, where she's going to show us this fantastic book and the benefit that it has for people who suffer with that specific illness. So come and join us again next Wednesday. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, everyone who's watching us. Please like, follow, and share. And we shall see you all again next week. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.